let's do this. Y'all, thank you for being here. We did it. 420 subscribers. I was like, I just want to do it by the end of the Georgia session or by 420. But we did it. We did it. I don't know. What was it? Last week? The week before? So I got to do a celebration video. I'd play my trumpet if it wasn't midnight. And maybe we'll do a bigger celebration. I was going to call a certain someone who said that we were going to do a celebration at his place. And I was thinking of calling him live, but I'm not going to put him on the spot. Anyway, to celebrate 420 subscribers, I'm going to read to you an article about Willie Nelson from this Rolling Stones issue. When is this even from? A long time ago. What year is this? I might need to get my magnifying glass. Hold on. I'll be right back. I'm so bad. I didn't even tell anyone that I was going live. So why would anyone be here? I should post it in the Facebook group. But I don't know. That's what happens when you just want to do things on the down low sometimes. So, what's the date? May. Look at that. May 2019. So this is the 6-year anniversary of this article. Let's dive into it. You know, I think the biggest issue for so many of us when it comes to cannabis prohibition is that people are being jailed for it. Absolutely ridiculous, absolutely abusive, and it needs to end now. And in order to usher in the hemp revival, we need to repair a lot of the damage that has been done. And Willie Nelson is one of my heroes that has been doing that in so many different ways. Have y'all read The Tao of Willie? How he talks about hemp fuel. And, you know, him and Jack Herr I see as these amazing pioneers who educate about the full plant, whole plant. You know, the phytoremediation, the fuel, the paper. And this article is about how cannabis saved his life. And it's so important to recognize that, yeah, though it can be used like anything else in excess, that's not the focus here. We can teach about that with education. The focus here is we're trying to bring this plant back to this world in one piece, not Humpty Dumpty who fell off the wall in a million different pieces. And so in order to do that, we have to keep educating. I've been talking to legislators, and you know, we have to figure out how to decriminalize this plant ASAP. We just have to. And we're going to. This is the year. If not federally, then in Georgia. We can't wait for DC. So I'm just going to read this article. The High Life by Patrick Doyle. 65 years after he smoked his first joint, Willie Nelson is America's most legendary stoner and a walking testament to the power of weed. It may have even saved his life. I can't believe I'm doing this. Thanks for the like. Okay. It's hard for me to read the small print. Willie Nelson, I'm just going to hold it up like here. I'm probably making a really goofy face. Willie Nelson is sitting on a couch at his home, a modest cabin that overlooks his 700 acres of gorgeous trees. Oh, gorgeous Texas Hill Country. When he reaches into his sweatshirt and produces a small, square vaporizer, takes a hit and exhales slowly. "Want a puff?" he asks. Nelson's wife, Annie, setting down a cup of coffee on a DVD case, working as a coaster in front of him, speaks up. "Careful with that, babe," she says. "You have to sing tonight." Nelson nods and puts it away. He turns 86 this spring and has a history of emphysema, so Annie, who's been with Willie for 33 years, tries to get him to look out for his lungs, especially on show days. This can be a problem. He's super generous, she says. And if there's somebody around, he'll want to offer it and do it with them to make them feel comfortable. Nelson says he stays high pretty much all the time. "At least I wait 10 minutes in the morning," Keith Richards had said. His routine, Annie says, is to take a couple of hits off the vape, and then an hour or two later he might want a piece of chocolate. That keeps it going. So not a ton of pot, but he is Willie Nelson. Annie recently bought Nelson an expensive version of a gravity bong, a fixture of high school house parties, which can shoot an entire bowl of weed into your lungs in one hit. You can use ice water, which helps cool it off, Annie says. And no paper really helps. I didn't know that. See, I'm learning. Hey, Nicolo! Thanks for tuning in to the 420 subscriber celebration. Thanks for subscribing and watching these videos. You're the best. All right. In addition to being the world's most legendary artist, Willie Nelson might also be the world's most legendary stoner. Before Snoop, or Cheech and Chong, or Woody Harrelson, there was Willie. He has been jailed for weed and made into a punchline for weed. I didn't know he was jailed for weed. Did you all? But look at him now. Still playing 100 shows a year, still writing songs, still curious about the world. I'm kind of the canary in the mine if people are wondering what happens if you smoke that shit a long time, he says. You know, if I start jerking or shaking or something, don't give me no more weed. But as long as I'm all right, dot, dot, dot. It was a workout holding this up. Years before weed became legal, oh, that makes it easier when you just use one eye. He spoke about the medical benefits and economic potential of weed if it were taxed and profits were put towards education. I love how they're like years before it became legal, but it's like still prohibited in so many places, which is so out of balance, but we're going to change it, right, y'all? It's nice to watch it being accepted, knowing you were right all the time about it, that it was not a killer drug, says Nelson. It's a medicine. You go, boy. He pauses for a second before telling a joke. He's told 1,000 times. "I don't know anybody that's ever died from smoking pot. Had a friend of mine that said a bale fell on him and hurt him pretty bad, though." A bale of hemp? Yikes. I have some of those hanging around. Right behind that curtain, actually. I might show it if you stick around till the end. Where am I? Nelson's house is a cedar log cabin 35 miles from Austin with a sweeping panoramic view of hill country. He picked the spot in the late 70s, laying 4 rocks where he wanted the foundation built. Down a dirt road, there's an old west town he had built for his 1986 film, Red-Headed Stranger. Have y'all seen it? We might have to do a movie night. I didn't realize this would be so small. This is like literally the smallest print. It's like 10 times smaller than text messages. Everyone knows I don't text message. It's too small for my eyes. Okay, Red-Headed Stranger. His golf course, Pedernales Cut and Putt. Oh, he has a golf course too. Look at everything I'm learning. Oh my gosh. We'll have to go to Texas to the golf course on our next tour. I'll give you on the Flying Penguins. All right. His golf course, Pedernales Cut and Putt, if it's still there after the lockdown. No shoes, no shirt, no problem. Oh my God, literally time stood still then. I remember I got this and I still haven't read it. I got it like right before the lockdown. It's crazy. No shoes, no shirt, no problem is his golf course logo is nearby. Tonight, Nelson will play a benefit for 300 Farm Aid donors. Oh yeah, Farm Aid's coming up. Tomorrow, 3,000 people will come here to Nelson's Luck Ranch for the Luck Reunion, an annual concert held during South by Southwest. A rainstorm last night tore up the property, and a crew has been working furiously to get their things ready. None of this seems to bother Nelson, who just woke up. Oh, it's fun, he says, when asked if he minds all the excitement. Willie expects everything to go okay, says his friend Steve Earl. He's pretty serene, so everybody else just does better than just to create drama around him. That organization kind of works that way. Sitting with Nelson, you get used to long silences. Oh, picking a little, he says, when asked about what he's been up to. He also just finished an album, Ride Me Back Home. The first song is about 60 horses on his property, which Nelson bought at auction and saved from slaughterhouses. Nelson had, that's pretty awesome, huh? Nelson had showed me some of the horses when I visited 5 years ago. Billy Boy is still here, he says. We lost Roll 'em up, Jack. Mina, the mule, is gone. Rattlesnake got her. Babe, you got any of that CBD coffee? Nelson is talking about Willie's Remedy. That coffee that is sold by his cannabis company, Willie's Reserve. The idea for a weed business started a few years ago. Nelson had bronchitis and he couldn't smoke. So Annie started making him weed chocolates. The recipe took some perfecting. Nelson kept eating too many and getting too high, so she had to lower the dosages to 5 milligrams. See, our legislators can learn from Annie and Willie. She lent some to a friend, and big business came knocking. They were skeptical. We don't want to become the Walmart of cannabis, says Annie, who headed the negotiations. They wanted to keep in line with, I'm going to switch hands. Nelson's Farm Aid organization supporting family farmers. Willie's, how great is it that? Willie's Reserve is now available in 6 states, and it's proving fairly lucrative, Nelson says. It hasn't been easy since the drug is still federally prohibited. What's up with that, huh? What's up with that? Can we all say a prayer? I make an outstanding agreement to honor and respect cannabis as a plant for food, free to be planted, honored and respected by all. Thank you for blessing this idea, universe. Am I just holding up an advertisement for a car this whole time? Whoa, Ford Doorgasm. That's kind of funny. It should be a cannabis car. That's all I have to say. Who's that? Okay, anyway. We're just going to focus on Willie over here. Where were we? Fairly lucrative. Nelson says it hasn't been easy since the drug is still federally prohibited. The regulations change like chameleons. He said that back in 2019. It's still going on. Oh my God. Chameleons. I love that metaphor analogy. Says Annie. Annie's the one who said that. She's so clever. The edibles are actually harder to produce legally than the flower. You have to have specific kitchens. You have to have specific licenses that take years to get. Years? Woo! Nelson's official title is CTO, Chief Tasting Officer. Love it. I'll be a CTO. The company even had business cards made up. He explains, if I find something that's really good, I say, this is really good. Despite 65 years of pot use, Nelson is not a connoisseur. He shrugs when asked for his favorite Willie's Reserve strains. His famous stash, he says, the weed that he used to keep in a Hopalong Cassidy lunchbox on his bus, is a bunch of random kinds that have been given to him by fans or throws onto the stage. Willie's Reserve VP Elizabeth Hogan has been trying for years to figure out what kind of weed Nelson likes. The response, Hogan says, is usually, I claim them all, or pot's like sex, it's all good. Some is great. He's kind of a sativa dude, says Annie. He's already funny, so it just makes him funnier. Pot has been Nelson's exclusive drug of choice since around 1978, when he gave up cigarettes and whiskey. Oh, I didn't know he gave up whiskey. That's why he's so healthy, right? See, that's the problem with all of our legislators. They're all hooked on whiskey. They don't want to give it up. Speaking of which, I'm going to take a sip of my watermelon water. Which also starts with a W. All right, I got to switch eyes. When he gave up cigarettes and whiskey. He'd had pneumonia 4 times, and his hangovers had gotten nasty. Plus, he could be a mean drunk. I had a pack of 20 Chesterfields, and I threw them all away. And I rolled up 20 Fat Johns, stuck them in there, he says. I haven't smoked a cigarette since. I haven't drank that much either, because one will make me want the other. I should really just take one of my contacts out. Then I can just read it without the magnifying glass. Okay, should I just finish that paragraph? One will make me want the other. Oh, yeah, that's that gateway drug that DuPont was talking about, that alcohol and smoking cigarettes is to each other. Seriously, that's in Hempdemic. Flag that while I go take one of my contacts out. Hold on 1 second. This is a really good article. Don't worry, it's not that much longer. But I know you want something to listen to when you go to bed, a little bedtime story. Yeah, it's just one more, it's just like one more page. Like, I'm more than halfway done. I'll be right back. Okay, Inspector Gadget is back. I can see your comments with this eye, and I can read the magazine with this one. And I see a thumbs up, and I really appreciate that very much. Okay, let's see what happens. Oh, nice. The real I with no material between me and the paper. It feels so naked and right. Okay, sorry. Um, Pot has been Nelson's exclusive drug of choice since around 1978 when he gave up cigarettes and whiskey. He'd had pneumonia 4 times and his hangovers had gotten nasty. Plus, he could be a mean drunk. I had a pack of Chesterfields and I threw them all away and rolled up 20 fat joints, stuck them in there. Stuck them in there. Um, and he says, I haven't smoked a cigarette since. I haven't drank that much either because one will make. Oh, I don't even have to close my other eye. I could be. The right one just dominates. I smoke a cigarette. Okay. I haven't smoked a cigarette since. I haven't drank that much either because one will make me want to drink the other, like Robert DuPont chose. But for some reason, they just decided to legalize. You know what? I smoke a cigarette. I wanna drink a whiskey. Drink a whiskey. Want a cigarette. That's me. I can't speak for nobody else. See, that's wise words right there. That's probably the biggest thing I learned from Willie Nelson is everyone deserves to make their own choice. Do your research and then decide. He has no doubt where he'd be without pot. I wouldn't be alive. It saved my life, really. I wouldn't have lived 85 years if I'd had kept drinking and smoking like I was when I was 30, 40 years old. Yeah, so basically addiction recovery right there. I think that weed kept me from wanting to kill people. Wise words as well, especially when you've been through trauma and, every charge needs a discharge. So you'll have that energy in you when it came towards you. Like if you feel someone tried to kill you or threatened your life, it's true. It's true. Like weed might be one of the only things that can sedate you from that feeling that starts to bubble up that needs an outlet. It'd be great if you can just like scream and get it out, but sometimes it's too intense and you end up like hurting yourself. Even if you just like you're having a temper tantrum or you break something, you could hurt yourself, right? Okay. And hurt others. I think that weed kept me from wanting to kill people and probably kept a lot of people from wanting to kill me too, out there drunk running around. Nelson uses the phrase delete and fast forward a lot. That's cute. It's the title of a recent song of his, and it means forgive, forget, move on. A way to get through painful times. Weed, he says, helps him delete and fast forward. You don't dwell on shit a lot. Truth. The short term thing they talk about is probably true, but it's probably good for you, the short term memory thing. I also like the expression I heard recently in a motivational speaker. I like Ralph Smart, deep, infinite waters, deep diving. He said, yeah, people are going to talk bad about you. And what are you going to do about it? It's free speech. It doesn't concern you. It's them just having free speech. I like that. It's like everyone's got a right, but not you don't have to worry about it. Alrighty, where am I? The short-term thing, blah, blah, blah. What do you mean the short-term thing? They say people who smoke pot have a short-term memory. Maybe that's good, Why? Because otherwise you start remembering a lot of negative things that you're not supposed to remember. And the next thing you know, you're back drinking whiskey. So weed helps you forget about stuff you don't want to think about. He is so real, isn't he? Yeah, what's more important is there's nothing I can do about what happened a while ago. Nothing I can do about what's going to happen in a minute. Right now, I can try to be pretty much control. I can try to pretty much control everything. Are there times you don't remember stuff that you wish you had remembered because you were high? Oh, probably, but I forgot it. Nelson smoked his first joint in 1954. He was living in Fort Worth, working as a musician and a part-time radio DJ, and had been watching the Senate's Joseph McCarthy hearings in a bar one night when a local musician named Fred Lockwood invited Nelson out to blow tea. Nelson was anxious about trying it. The U.S. government said I would go crazy and stick up a bank and murder innocent people. Blow tea? Have any of you? You forget things all the time, eh? Have any of y'all heard that? Blow tea? Someone once told me the Tea Party was about hemp. So maybe that's where blow tea comes from. And then my friend Michael told me that it was called spinach in the symphony back when his dad was in the symphony, which was, I don't know, 60 years ago? They would like pass the spinach. And he said that's what Popeye, that's why they called it spinach and Popeyes. That's what he was putting in his pipe. Spinach, not tobacco. All right, where am I? He was invited to blow tea in 1954. We should write a song about this. Willie Nelson was invited to blow tea in 1954. And then some people feel blow tea when they're 54 because they're going through. Better pause. We need to pause and get some. Okay, anyway. I think that's a good start. If anyone wants to help me finish it, let me know. So blow tea is a bowl. That's what you're saying? Oh, because it's like, I don't know. Anyway. He wrote in 1988's Willie, an autobiography. Nelson thought it was a better idea to hold onto the joint, pull over later that night on his drive home, and smoke it. But nothing happened. It took me about 6 months to get high, he says. Oh, you're trying to rhyme with that rap? Okay, we'll have to like, not delete fast forward. We need to rewind and go slower. How about that expression? Boop, 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 boop. So yeah, like, email me if you want to work on this song, usahemprevival@gmail.com, to calm your mind. Thank God the word calm is in every single website. Maybe we'll all chill out because of that. Oh, write your favorite strain in the chat too. I'm curious. That's interesting that Willie Nelson doesn't have one. Maybe the Aviva Sativa will be his favorite when we work on that. It took him 6 months to get high, he says. He was drinking a lot of Jack Daniels and smoking a lot of cigarettes. Oh, so who knows what gets you high or drunk? I can get so high just from being around someone who is smoking. Like today I went to the Elevated Cannabis event. Haven't had anything. And then I went to a music studio to record. When I walk in there, I just get high because everyone's smoking. I can't, like, yeah, I'm so sensitive. So, yeah, and I'm pretty straight edge. So maybe that's why, since I don't, do the full drinking, smoking, eating pizza thing or whatever. It took me about 6 months to get high, he says. He was drinking a lot of Jack Daniels and smoking a lot of cigarettes, so who knows what gets you high or drunk. But he kept trying, and one night he was on stage in Fort Worth when I finally realized I'm getting a little buzz off it, he says. Maybe he was smoking hemp the whole time. Nelson suspects he'd had pot as a kid. His cousin had shared a doctor-prescribed asthma cigarette when they were fishing one day. Cannabis was sometimes available at drugstores and dance halls before FDR essentially outlawed it in 1937. Harry Anslinger, the commissioner of the Federal Bureau of Narcotics, testified that cannabis had spread from the southwest U.S. to become a national menace. With Mexico just across the border, it was easier to find weed in Texas. Oh, that's interesting. Than anywhere else in the country. But if you had so much as a seed, you got 20 years. Whoa. Recalls Nelson's friend Johnny Bush. By the way, here's a picture of Nelson at his Pedernales studio in March. He cut nearly an entire gospel album that day. How serious he is. Looks like a nun. But that's none other than Willie Nelson. If you ask Nelson's friend about some of the pot-smoking pioneers of country music, one name always comes up. J.R. Chat the Cat Chatwell. A prominent Western swing fiddler who turned every musician he could onto weed. Wow. That's interesting. Chatwell. This is a conspiracy theory, because who would have a name about chatting well from someone who gets high all the time and probably gets chatty and tries to get everyone else to get high? This is an illusion. Anyway, Chatwell, a prominent Western swing fiddler who turned every musician he could onto weed, was smoking since the 1920s and even recorded a song about it, 1941's Mary Jane, with his band, the Modern Mountaineers. Pretty little girl named Mary Jane's got me under her finger. I don't mind my being there, 'cause that's where I want to linger. I have no idea if that's the melody. That's just what came to my head. You can fact check it. Chat drove to Laredo and the border to buy his cheese. Who moved the cheese? And even smoked it on stage. He turned Texas band leader Doug Sam onto pot and its sophisticated varieties in San Antonio in the late 1950s. Years later, Sam showed up, it's SAHM, at the Rolling Stones San Francisco offices with a briefcase full of different strains of weed, aka cheese. Even the holy kind. Rolling Stone founder Jan S. Wenner said an entirely new concept at this time. Oh, okay, so this was kind of a run-on sentence. Years later, Sam showed up at the Rolling Stone San Francisco offices with a briefcase full of different strains of weed, Rolling Stone founder John S. Wenner said. An entirely new concept at the time. Other musicians were more discreet. In the early 60s, Nelson toured as a bass player for Ray Price. The slick... Oh, I lied. There's one more page. Nudie suit wearing country crooner. I went to his hotel room one time and noticed he had a towel under the door, Nelson says. I said, "You motherfucker." So we quit hiding from each other. He called the weed they were smoking back then Mexican dirt weed. You could get a lid, a tobacco can containing about an ounce for between $10 and $20. It's like cigarettes, I guess, huh? Towel. So that's the trick, towel. That's cool. Willie Nelson was his bass player. That's what I'm talking about. All right. They were smoking their Mexican dirt weed in their hotel rooms with the towels under the doors, discreetly. $10, $20 a can. Good for them. Willie was playing the bass. The other guy was a nudie suit wearing country crooner named Ray Price. You should check out his songs. On the road again. I just can't wait to get on the road again. See what I did there? On the road, pot was a tool to counteract other substances. Bush recalls he and Nelson taking bennies. Hey, there was that girl's last name was Winnie. Winner. Benzedrine and early amphetamine to make drives sometimes as long as 500 miles between gigs. That's a lot. I know that. Where you tie the trailer to the car, put 4 musicians in there, Bush says. You'd be on a Benny high and you had no appetite. Wow. Then you, wow, you just like sit in the trailer. That's crazy. I mean, musicians do crazy things. Then you smoked a little, and then all of a sudden your appetite came back and you could sleep. It was a cycle. Nelson had his own cycle. I used to drink a lot, he says, and that brings on negative thinking. You start thinking about everything that's wrong, and then you better drink another or take another shot so it gets better. He's so real. And it don't get better. Nelson spent most of the 60s in Nashville writing hits for other artists like Crazy, Crazy for Being So Lonely, and Nightlife. But he wanted to break through on his own. No. A despondent, Nelson famously got drunk and laid down in the middle of the city's main strip, not caring if he got run over. Oh, baby. Then there was the time his second wife, Shirley, got a hospital bill in the mail for the birth of his daughter, whom he had with his soon-to-be third wife, Connie. What? Willie. His sister, Bobby, attributes his dark times to drinking. We don't hold our alcohol well. I might be able to drink a little wine myself, but Willie can't drink. With him, the dark side would come out, Bush says. His eyes are brown, and they'd go dark brown. You know, it wasn't a physical mean. He would just get a little sarcastic. Nelson's true adventures in drugs started when he moved to Austin in 1971. He grew his hair out and started playing shows that united hippies and conservative cowboys. Good for him. When Willie Nelson moved back to Texas, I stopped getting my ass kicked so much, says Earl. I had long hair and cowboy boots, and people took offense to that. Willie moves back, and all of a sudden, within a year or two, I'm standing out in the cow pasture, listening to the same bands with the same guys that used to kick my ass. My hobby in high school became turning cowboys onto LSD, and they were so grateful. I'm an experimental sort of fellow, Nelson wrote in his 1988 autobiography. In the 70s, he experimented with hallucinogens. In the fairly short period of time that I used it, acid taught me several profound things, Nelson wrote. One was that I must not take acid and try to play a show. 2 hours before show, he took 1,500 micrograms of LSD. I seemed to be standing in chocolate pudding, he wrote. My fingers began turning into claws on the guitar. I felt like I looked like a werewolf. Today he says hallucinogens are not for me. I need to think, and some of those things, I can't think on them. Nelson has been busted for pot several times, though none of the arrests led to serious jail time. After a 2010 bust in Sierra Blanca, Texas, where Border Patrol seized 6 ounces from him, the county attorney suggested Nelson sing Blue Eyes Crying in the Rain at the courthouse as punishment. But Nelson's most remarkable bust... Can we rewind and slow down? So his punishment was to sing a song instead of go to jail or pay a fine. Do we have proof that that actually went to fruition? Because the cannabis lawyers can, they can go back to past trials and be like, okay, this is what happened to this cannabis arrest. This is our precedence. So 2010 bust in Sierra Blanca, Texas. Willie's punishment for 6 ounces was singing a song. blue eyes crying in the rain. Perhaps. We need to validate that. When I was arrested, not for weed per se, but they didn't like the D8 honey that I had in my back seat, and that was partly whatever. I sang my caucus song all the way to jail, but I still had to spend the night in jail. That's not fair. It's because I'm not famous. Anyway, I need to get some water. I'll be right back. All right. Okay. Come on. But I guess they still took all of his stuff. They probably sold it as Willie Nelson weed for like a really top dollar. But Nelson's most remarkable bust story came in 1977. He and songwriter Hank Cochran had a couple of days off tour, so they headed to the Bahamas. The trip got off to a rocky start when the airline lost their luggage. Oh. But they went to Cochran's boat anyway. After 2 days, they decided to pick up their bags at the airport. Oh, yay, they got them. A custom agent was waiting with Nelson's suitcase. The agent held up a bag of weed he'd found in a pair of Nelson's jeans. He was thrown in jail. That's because it was like before he was famous. I got deported. They said, don't come back. Wait, oh, from the Bahamas. Oh, he wasn't in America. Wow. Has he? Nelson gives a look and pauses for several seconds. What do you think? Has he gone back to the Bahamas? This interview's in 2019. What did he say? Any guesses? This is what he said. Fuck no! I said that so loud. Sorry. Poor guy. Bahamas is freaking awesome, but I've only been once. Nelson's next stop was the White House. Before the arrest, he had been invited by Jimmy Carter, for whom Nelson had performed during his campaign. Oh, Nelson was photographed arriving on the back lawn wearing tennis shoes and a bandana. Oh, he laughed about it, he says of Carter's reaction to his Bahamas bust. Why not? That night, after singing in the Rose Garden, Nelson went to sleep with his wife, Connie, in the Lincoln bedroom. Oh. I wonder how long he was in jail in the Bahamas. Bahamas jails are probably no joke. Then one of the president's sons knocked on his door. Chip Carter took me down into the bottom of the White House, where the bowling alley is. Did y'all know there was a bowling alley in the White House? We're learning a lot from Willie Nelson, not just about bowls, but about bowling alleys. Dang, bowling. I think this is the best live reading yet. Um, it's actually, well, it's the first one on this channel, but on my Aviva Sings Out channel, I've done a lot of live readings. Okay, yeah, I'm in shock too. Where the bowling alley is, Nelson says. Then they went up to the roof and smoked a joint. Nelson remembers Carter explaining the surrounding view, the Washington Monument, the string of lights on Pennsylvania Avenue. It's really pretty nice up there, Nelson says. On a Saturday afternoon in Austin, a couple of dozen people pack into the Lazy Days coffee and smoke shop, which today has become a pop-up shop selling of Willie Reserve products. That's cool. A video is shown of some of Willie's Reserve growers, including Tina Gordon, a San Francisco drummer who started growing in California's Emerald Triangle, the largest cannabis producing region in the US. I feel like Willie Nelson and what he stands for really resonates, she says. It's a combination of embracing the natural world and stick it to the man, and I love that. We also hear from Johnny Casale, who took over his parents' farm, which included cannabis plants, then got sentenced to 10 years after a neighbor turned him in. Now he's back to work, growing weed for Nelson. Wow. Nelson knows he's one of the lucky ones. He gets angry when he thinks about all the people in prison for it. Thank you. 40% of all drug arrests are for pot. Rewind, slow down. 40% of all drug arrests are for pot, with blacks 4 times more likely to get busted than whites. Of course. A lot of it is because people get in there who don't even have the bail money to get out, he says. Let those guys out and start working and paying taxes. Okay? Willie believes in paying taxes. Nelson is talking in his bunkhouse, a 1-floor wood-paneled space across the driveway from the house. Donald Trump is on MSNBC. Nelson picks up his remote, but it's old and janky, and the button doesn't really work. It's hard to turn him off, Nelson says. This is where Nelson comes to hang out at night by himself. A round poker table sits in the middle of the room. You don't want to play poker with him, says Earl. He's not afraid to lose, so he's not afraid to bet, and it's hard to beat a guy like that. Behind it, there's a small portable closet stacked with cowboy hats. There's a tub full of golf balls. A tub? Oh, like probably like, not like a bathtub, just a tub. And a cupboard full of guns. Across the room from that is a shelf containing Nelson's black belts for martial arts. Nelson will sometimes stay here until 5 in the morning, drinking coffee, watching the news or a Western, coming up with songs. He often has his Sirius XM station, Willie's Roadhouse, turned on. He hears a lot of old friends on it: Johnny Cash, Waylon Jennings, Ray Price. We talked about Ray Price earlier, just in case you missed it. That's why they don't want to legalize it, because they don't want to pay taxes on the weed that they're selling. Is that what you're saying? Nicolo. Nelson released a song about those friends, Last Man Standing, in 2017. Arresting. It's so sad. Yeah, my friends are still in jail. I hate it. Then he immediately stopped performing it. I don't like going to that place mentally. Mortality is his least favorite subject. He didn't go to the funerals of close friends like Jennings and Roger Miller, and he makes a habit of avoiding sadness at all costs. He seems to think that's another. Oh, this is continued on another page, so it might be another couple of pages. 94. He seems to think that's another. Wow, me thinking this is going to be a 15-minute video. I should know better. I always get on here and have such a good time. Okay, it's only a quarter of a page more, I think. No, wait, I don't know. Okay, yeah, it's just. Oh wait, I didn't show you the pictures on the last one. Such a silly head. There's a lot of weed stuff in this issue. Okay, so that top picture is 1978 with Waylon Jennings, who was not a fan of weed. And then the bottom one is Nelson endorsing Beto O'Rourke during his Senate campaign in 2018. He said he's an old rock and roll picker. All right, thanks for the hearts. All right, so he seems to think, avoiding sadness, he seems to think that's another reason he's survived. When you put a negative thought into your mind and body, it literally poisons your system. I ask him what he thinks his legacy is. Nelson stares back intensely. He asked me to repeat the question twice more before it became clear. He just doesn't want to answer. He was not saying rewind, slow down. He was saying delete, fast forward. I hadn't really thought about it. I think there's already a legacy out there that people have made up in their minds already, I think. Nelson wrote a new song last night. It's called God is Love. He speaks a verse of it, making eye contact with me the entire time. Take these words of wisdom with you everywhere you go. Tell all the religions in the world. And through them, the truth shall flow. But God is love, and love is God. That's all you need to know. I wrote a song with some of those words. It's called A Little Girl, A Little Love. Anyway, Nelson says he doesn't see God as a big guy in the sky making all the decisions. I think God is love, period. There's love in everything out there. Agree. Trees, grass, air, water. Love is the one thing that runs through every living thing. Exactly! Which is why when you add pesticides to the ground, it's not just that you're ruining the soil, you're ruining the love that's in the soil and the air. So I guess you can heal it with love. Love is, we just got to keep giving each other love. LOVE. Everybody loves something. The grass loves the water. That's the one thing that we all have in common, that we all love, and we like to be loved. That's God. The grass loves the water. We love the water. The data centers, unfortunately, love the water. And we're trying to work through that in Georgia at the next hearing, May 22nd, room 40 something, I think. Look it up, Natural Resources Committee, Georgia. Are you in Georgia, Nicolo? I also, along with your favorite strain of weed. I want to know what your favorite video is on his channel and if you've watched Hempdemic. The next day, Nelson teaches the song to his band in his paralyzed recording studio, an unmarked building on his golf course. The space has a lot of history. One day in 1982, Nelson woke up Merle Haggard, who'd passed out after being up for 5 days, and brought him here to record his famous last verse to their duet, Poncho and Lefty. Nelson gave the band members just a few days' notice for today's session. They had no idea he was going to cut nearly an entire gospel album in one sitting. Nelson shows up a little cranky. He'd come from a photo shoot, one of his least favorite things on the planet. They are hard. When his microphone isn't immediately ready to go, he snaps at the engineer, but soon he warms up. Nelson in the studio is completely different from Nelson on stage, where he can sometimes coast. Sitting on a stool, he tears through take after take, songs he's learned as a kid in church, and early classics of his own, like Family Bible. Same. When I'm in the studio, it's like time is money. It's like, hyper focus, hyper focus. Family Bible. He works hard to figure out advanced chord structures, giving instructions like, let's get that diminished in there and modulate up a tone. And what's his other quote? Delete and fast forward. I don't think he uses that in the studio. When someone makes a mistake, Nelson usually blames himself. Everybody unhappy? Nelson says midway through, getting laughs from the control room. I'm going to use that. He asks, what time it is? 9 p.m. Oh, it's early, he says. We wouldn't even be on stage yet. Let's see what else we can do. He's not fucking around today, says the engineer. Close to midnight, Nelson comes into the control room to hang out with his son, Lucas. Willie is sweaty, vibrant, and looks younger than this morning. The engineer's microphone mistake is long forgotten, and Nelson reaches into his pocket and takes out a generous wad of $20 bills, handing them over as a tip. After a while, Nelson gets up. I'm going to see if the little lady wants to drive me home, he says. Some of the songs aren't perfect. We're coming back and to fix them later. He takes a hit from his vape pen and exhales. Not sure what year that'll be. Oh, I'm glad I'm not the only one who's been working on something for years. Well, thank you for joining me for the celebration of 420 subscribers with Willie Nelson, one of my weed heroes. One day, maybe we'll sing Canada's Car together or Hemp Revival. You made it 420 times better by being here. It would have been so lonely without you. And I'm glad you're in Georgia. And I hope to see you at an event or a hearing one day soon. So yeah, keep in touch. If you liked this live, give it a thumbs up. You probably did already. Thank you so much. And y'all, peace out. I want to end with the sacred agreement. Let me see. I don't know if you can hear it if I'm playing it on another screen. I could play it on my phone. That's what I could do. Hold on. All right. Let's see. Gonna get it. Get it. Hey, we just got unsubscribed. We were having 423. Okay, outro. Am I able to? Oh wait, I can do an outro by just going to the video, so I can pull it up. Hold on. Hold on. First time ever sharing a screen on a YouTube live. I've obviously done it on Zoom. Oh wait, yeah. This is the whole one. No. Okay. Okay. Let's see if this works.
Hey, 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 I make an outstanding agreement to honor and respect cannabis as a plant for food, free to be planted, harvested, and processed by all. I break any past contract known or unbeknownst to me that has taken away my freedoms and security. I, but not limited to, being punished, shamed, lied to, neglected, shocked, blocked, or manipulated in regards to my personal relationship with and awareness of the cannabis plant. I am committed to spreading education about the many uses of cannabis, from fuel to paper, rock, fiber, medicine, technology, and ceremony. I believe we all stand and work together to reveal the truth about cannabis and help each other heal. The great deception, lies, punishment, and withholding of information that has affected the quality of our health and prosperity, relationships, communication, and camaraderie. My healthy, prosperous life deserves honor and devotion, and I honor my life. And it is my choice to use cannabis if it can contribute to and sustain this. I release any and all shame and fear if it's connected to this belief. Oh, I agree to honor my beliefs and acknowledge new agreements for the support and protection of our basic human rights. in regard to protecting and caring for ourselves, others, Earth, and Earth's resources. I further agreed to and believe that it is my right and any human's right to grow cannabis in a personal garden, family, and or industrial farm. All suppression in the form of laws or otherwise that is out of agreement with this new contract is in violation of our beliefs, and it is my responsibility to make sure there's relief. And this is heard far and wide until total liberation is achieved. This is my sacred agreement and commitment, and I see that it is good.